After 34 years in the refining and midstream businesses, I currently serve on the boards of four public companies. They include a large midstream company based in Calgary, Alberta, a refining and marketing company based in Dallas, Texas, the largest marine transportation company in the U.S., and the largest natural gas compression company in the U.S., and they're both based in Houston, Texas. Being in engineering, my time at the university was quite focused academically. I also worked near full-time at 30 to 40 hours a week at a local restaurant, a department store, and then as a technician at Owens, Illinois. That allowed me to pay for my tuition and most of my living expenses while I was still living at home. I lived in Old Orchard, about a mile from the university. So there was quite a balance between financial and academic responsibilities during my time at the university. Most of my social life was involved with studying with my friends. And we did go to Daytona Beach a few times in the spring. So we did have some fun while we were at the university. It wasn't just all study and exams. You know, this question really caused me to reflect. My father was a tool and die maker and ultimately ran a successful tool and die business. And as kids, we would go over there to the plant on the weekends. We'd play with the equipment. Both of my brothers went into manufacturing. My oldest brother is a chemical engineer as well. So I felt quite comfortable going to work at the local refinery at Sunoco, even though it's an all-male industry. After I started at Sunoco, I learned that the men at the refinery were sent to a workshop to help them understand how to work with professional women, as I was one of the first professional women to work at the refinery, and I was completely stunned by that, and I found it quite humorous. But that was kind of how I started my career, working in an all-male environment. I believe going to St. Ursula Academy in Toledo, an all-girls high school, and then being in a chemical engineering program at the University of Toledo, there were several women in that program. That gave me the leverage I needed to have a successful career in the refining business. I was a bit surprised, deeply touched. And I felt incredibly honored. Many memories came flooding back. I've always loved to connect the dots, so this award caused me to reflect quite a bit. Well, it means a great deal to me. It seems that I've come full circle in my life, and it causes me to think about what I want to focus on going forward. Although I ended my career as the CEO of a midstream company, and prior to that, I was Senior Vice President of Refining at Sunoco, so I was responsible for all the manufacturing sites. My life dream was to be the general manager of a single-site oil refinery. And there were so few women in the industry to achieve that position during those years, and I did not think that it would ever happen for me. Then came Hurricane Katrina. And in the aftermath, I was offered the position of general manager of the Norco refinery in New Orleans, Louisiana. There were 850 employees, several hundred contractors that were all convinced the refinery was going to be shut down because most of the businesses after Katrina were either shut down, they left, they didn't return to the area. And you know, we pulled together as one team. Over a 3-year period, we worked hard transforming the refinery from a weak performing site to the best in shells manufacturing system. We focused on core values, our management systems and work processes, our accountability model, and celebrated successes, because after all, it was New Orleans. Most importantly, we went well over 2 years without a OSHA recordable injury, which was was pretty phenomenal, and we were pretty happy about that. So it was a lot of work, people working together, but it was quite a success. And that facility is still in business today, all these years later, and doing well. Well, strong academics, caring, supportive professors, committed fellow students. Everybody was quite serious about studying and the classes, and really a conducive study environment. Those are the words that flow right back to me when I think about the University of Toledo and my time there. So when I started at the University of Toledo, I met two lifelong friends. They're still dear friends to this day. And it was our first day of chemistry class. Their names were Samia and Linda. At the end of the semester, one of my friends, Linda, walked up to Samia and me and said, "I've made a decision. I'm going into chemical engineering, and I'm not going to be the only girl in the class. So both of you have to go into chemical engineering with me." And Sammy and I looked at each other and we said, "Well, then okay." So I went home and I said, "Mom, I'm thinking about going into chemical engineering." And she said, "Well, Anne Marie, your brother's a chemical engineer and you can do it too." And that moment changed the trajectory of my career, really my life. I loved all my professors at the university. They were supportive. They were great to work with. Dr. Lottie at that time was the Dean of Chemical Engineering. Dr. Jones, Dr. Stoops, Dr. Laxonen. I think they got the biggest kick out of all these girls in the classes. They were really fun. But there was one professor in particular that impacted me quite a bit, and his name was Dr. Will Grant. He was an African-American professor who taught physics. And I had struggled with engineering physics my first semester, and then I took his class to finish the course. And his teaching style just clicked with me, and everything started making sense. And one day he announced to the class that anyone who has an A going into the final need not take the final. So the day before the final exam, he called me to the front of the room, and in front of the whole class, he announced that I had an A average going into the final. And, I was thrilled. And then he looked at me and he said, "Anne Marie, one day you're going to be a hell of an engineer." And he then said to me, "I hope that you have learned far more in physics than just physics in my class." And I was beaming from ear to ear. I literally floated out of the classroom and then ran all the way home to tell my mom. And as I reflected over the years, I did learn much more than just physics in his class. I learned about dignity and respect, celebrating successes, and believing in and encouraging others. Early in my career, shortly after I had graduated from the university, I was working at the local refinery in Toledo at the Sunoco refinery. And there was a significant incident that occurred. It was an explosion that severely damaged the unit, so much so that we were concerned that the company may not rebuild. And I was responsible for leading the investigation, and that made such a deep impact on me, getting to the root cause to really try to understand what happened. And for me, it came down to two things, which caused me to make a conscious decision that I would focus on keeping people safe and developing leaders for the rest of my career. And no matter what job I was in, that was always my focus. The importance to me, and to this day, I'm at being on the board of directors, I still drive the importance of developing leaders and keeping people safe. And I would like to be remembered as somebody who strove for instilling operational excellence in people around me, ensuring their success, and the sustainable success of the facilities of the manufacturing environment. For me, it was all about helping others do the best they could do, helping others be the best they could be, and helping others to bring out the best in other people. So it is all about working as one team, creating an atmosphere of excellence, living by your core values. I would like to be remembered as a person who did just that.